What's going on, everyone? Steven here. Today I'm going to show you how to create a no collision and infinite jump hack in Mega Man 11. I've had a number of people over the past however many months write comments and send me emails interested in this game. It's not like a ton of people, but definitely more than I'd say one. Anyway, so that's what we're going to do. So I have gone ahead and found health. It was just a simple 4-byte value. Max health is a value of 56. Okay, so the first thing that we're going to do is look for no collision. And a lot of times that's related to your health. So you can start this process by finding health, and then we're going to see what happens from that point. Okay, so what I want to do now that I have found my health is right click and choose find out what accesses this address. And here we see we have 3 instructions running. And so any of these instructions could be checking for certain things related to collision, who knows what. But what I like to do is get hit by an enemy to ensure that, collision is detected and see what happens. So I'm going to go in the game here and collide with an enemy, and let's see what happens. Alright, so pause the game. Alright, we had these 6 instructions pop up. Okay, so these popped up in order of execution, and so with this first instruction here, I'm interested in this one. Alright, so I am going to stop this and I'm going to show disassembler. I'm just starting with the first instruction of interest there. Okay, so now what we can do is we could try to NOP this and see what happens. I've already done that. Nothing happens in the game. So now what we can do is backtrace our way up through execution to return to other subroutines that came into this one that we're in now. Okay, so we basically want to find the call that comes into whatever point, and hopefully we get rid of that call and it never calls its way down into everything that happens when you collide with an enemy. Alright, so from this point I'm going to right click and go break and trace instructions. Okay, so this will bring up the break and trace window. This is the number of instructions it's going to trace. So this is an instruction, this is an instruction, this, and this. So 1,000 of these is what we're going to trace with this. You can change that to whatever you want. I'm just going to keep it at the default of 1,000. I also toggle save stack snapshots, which per each instruction that's traced through, you will have basically a snapshot of what was going on in the stack at that time. We're not going to be using that now, but I like to do it anyway, just as a general rule. So step over instead of single step. What this will do is step over calls that are traced through, right? So as this goes down through each instruction as it's tracing, if we didn't have that step over, what it would do is once it got to this call, it would step into it or follow execution into this call and trace all those instructions until it found its way back to this point in execution and then kept going. By stepping over, it's just going to skip this call and then continue tracing. So we can find our way farther back in execution by stepping over. So I'll say OK. And now what I'm going to do is go back in the game here and get hit again. Oops. Alright, see how it paused there before a bunch of stuff happened? That's a good sign. Alright, so now I'm going to pause it, come into our trace here, and now what we want to do is expand this. So expand all. Alright, and this point right here is this instruction. See how they're the same? The next instruction, the next instruction, right? So this is a trace. Alright, that's following here. Remember what I said about this call? Okay, here's that call. Instead of stepping down into it, which would result in another one of these branches leafing out, okay, it just keeps going. and that allows us to, we're skipping calls, and boom, we more quickly find our way back up through execution. So this is a different branch, okay? This is the one that basically called into this one. So if we double click here, all right, it takes us to that instruction. The instruction before this will be the call, okay? So what we could do is NOP this call and see what happens. I've already done that. Nothing happens. So let's go back up through to another prior branch of execution. Here, let's double click. Okay, once again, we have this call here. Let's replace this with code that does nothing and see what happens in the game. Alright, so right now nothing is going on, okay? So let's restore with original code, and now everything's moving. So let's pause again, go back into our trace, and maybe it turns out that this one does do what we want it to do. So let's right click here and go replace with code that does nothing. Let's go back in the game, unpause it, see what happens. Looky there. Alright, so that first branch is what we wanted. Cool deal. So now we can run around. We still collide with our power-ups. Our bullets still collide with enemies. That's good. So we don't have to run through and try to find, you know, the good things that we want to collide with. This appears to be separating enemy collision from everything else. Cool deal. Alright. The one thing that we do run into now is whenever we fall, okay, we're not immediately colliding with what it detects is, you know, our death. It waits quite a while. Eventually it does it, but, you know, this is where now we can have this infinite jump thing that'll help out, okay? So what I want to do first is I'm going to restore with original code. Let's make this to where we can save the script, and if we close the game and come back into the game at some point, we have this. So I'm going to go Tools, Auto Assemble, Template, AOB Injection. I'm going to copy this and just click OK twice. Alright, and I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to change this to Assert. We don't want to do an AOB scan. I'm going to replace all of this with what I copied. Okay, get rid of this. And now I'm going to delete everything down to Disable. I'll explain what all this does here in just a second. Whoops. Going to paste that again. DB. There. Let's see, just to let you know, I'm on Cheat Engine version 7, so we could do like NOP 6, and Cheat Engine would fill each of these bytes with NOPs, the number of them that you specified, but you need to be on version 7 or presumably later when those come to do that. So I'm just going to forget about that for now. Alright, and then down here I'm going to replace this inject with our exact module plus offset, okay, and get rid of these. Alright, so what this is doing is it's saying, okay, I want you to look at this exact spot in memory, and I want you to make sure these bytes exactly in this order are in that location. Cheat Engine will check that. Okay, if they're not, then the script will not enable. If they are, then the script enables. This spot is what's looked at, and then these are the bytes that are then declared at that location. Alright, so then when we disable, it'll write back the original bytes that were there. Alright, so that's cool. Now we've got that set up, and then if for some reason this stopped working, maybe they update the game and this stops working, you could do an AOB scan for these bytes here, and then, you know, try to find where at in memory those bytes then reside. Or when we created this, you could have just kept the AOB and have that run, but I like to do this because it's a little bit faster when you enable it. Alright, I'm going to File, Assign to Current Cheat Table. Close this, close that. I'm going to close this trace. We'll call this No collision. Okay, so we found that. Now we want to find jump. Okay, with jumping, there's two things to keep in mind, and this will help you find a value like this, like 99% of the time. Okay, one thing is understanding what a Boolean value is. It's true or false, on or off, yes or no. In computer terms, that is a 0 or a 1. Anything that needs to represent a Boolean value, a true or false, yes or no, on or off, black or white, right? That will be a 1 or a 0. 1 is yes, true, on, false, no, and off would be 0. Okay? So, most of the time. And what I mean by that is the second thing to consider is a question that you ask. Typically you can ask the question, like right now, can Mega Man jump? Yes, Mega Man can jump. He's on the ground. He can jump. Okay? So, can Mega Man jump? Yes. 1. Right? So maybe right now in memory, the value that watches or that's there to represent jumping, maybe it's a 1 right now. Maybe the question is, can Mega Man jump? Yes, 1. The other way to look at it is, has Mega Man jumped? Has Mega Man jumped right now? No, he's still on the ground. He can still jump. Now, if I'm in the middle of the air, has Mega Man jumped? Boom. I just paused it. Has Mega Man jumped? Yes, he has jumped. He's in the air right now. Boom, back on the ground. Has he jumped? No, 0. All right, so that's what I'm going to go with right now. Has Mega Man jumped? All right, so what we can do is start with an unknown initial value scan. I have hotkeys set up for that, and if you're clicked in this, then you'll see those keys pop up. \U, I have that set for unknown initial value scan. All right, so now if we jump and pause the game, all right, I'm going to search for 1, because again the question is, has Mega Man jumped? Yes, he has jumped. So 1, yes. Go next scan. Okay, let's land back on the ground. Okay, let's look for a 0. Has Mega Man jumped? No, he's still on the ground. See these values that are changing? Now we can search for an unchanged value. I'm holding that hotkey down that I have set. Okay. And the reason why that's popping up is because focus is on the cheat engine window and my hotkey is \delete for unchanged. So just close that. Alright, so now I am going to jump and hit my hotkey combo for changed. Okay, so I jumped, it changed, I landed again now, it's changed again. Okay, so 0 is what we're interested in. Let's just move. Actually, let's jump up to this next block. Oh, see how those values are changed? But we haven't jumped. I'm going to move left and right while having my hotkey down. Alright, now I'm going to jump and land on this. I'm going to say unchanged value because I'm on the ground again, right? Okay, I'm going to jump and hit changed. I landed, I hit changed again, boom. We're down to these 5, okay? So now what we could do is bring down each of these. We could try locking them all and then jumping and seeing what happens. Now just a word of warning, this crashes the game. When you're looking for true or false values, you will inevitably run into values that have to do with, I don't know, maybe they're related to what you're searching for, maybe they're related to something else. But you go to lock them, and in this case we jump, it's going to crash the game. I don't know why I would have to dig into it. In that case, whenever you find your way back down to this number of values, then you start with the first one, or whichever one you think is it. Let's start by locking that one only. And now I'm going to jump. Alright, that's a good sign. Alright, so this is looking for like collision with the ground, have you jumped, a whole bunch of different stuff. Alright, so we found it. That is our has Mega Man jumped Boolean value. So now what we can do is right click on this and go find out what accesses this address. Look at all this stuff. Alright, I'm going to jump All right, and see those instructions that pop up. All right, I'm going to stop it. Okay, so this is another benefit of asking the question. Okay, when you see compare instructions like this, that is a question being asked. Okay, is the thing here the same as this? Okay, so this compare could be saying, has Mega Man jumped? Okay, 1, Mega Man has jumped. Okay, this instruction, has Mega Man jumped? Compare it to 0, no, Mega Man hasn't jumped. I'm interested in this one, so let's go show disassembler. Okay, and so here the question is asked, and depending on the result of that, this jump might happen or it might not. Jump if not equal. If that jump doesn't happen, this jump will, right? So this sends execution to the game module plus offset to 5D710. This one sends it to D7D0. So a close spot to this, but different, right? So what happens if we get rid of this jump? Okay, so my thinking with stuff like this is, okay, I see the compare, I don't quite know the context of the question it's asking, I think I do. Let me just get rid of this jump, or reverse the jump, or make the jump always happen, or whatever, right? Play around with the jumps and calls. That's what I tend to do. So I'm just going to replace with code that does nothing here, and let's see what happens. Let's try to jump. Look, I can jump as many times as I want now. Alright, but we're not done yet, because if you move and do this and continue moving, Mega Man stays on that plane. Alright, X or Y, whichever the game represents this as. Alright, that's what we're staying on. Alright, so if we just hit jump, boom, he actually comes back down and collides with the ground where he should. So let us restore with original code. Let's actually follow this jump. Okay, and now I'm going to do the same thing that I just did in that subroutine right there. I'm going to look for the first jump or call that I come across, and I'm going to get rid of it. Let's see what happens. Replace with code that does nothing. I can't multi-jump. Okay. Restore with original code. Let's make it always jump. Control C just to copy what we have there. Let's change it to jump. Now what happens? Nothing. Alright, so I'm going to double click there because I copied. I'm going to change that back to what it was. Let's go to the next jump and see what we get. This one here. Let's replace with code that does nothing. Now what? Okay, we can multi-jump, but now what happens when we move? Perfect. This is what we want. Now we're able to move around and multi-jump. Cool deal. Alright, so now, make sure we still collide with that stuff. Yep, we are still good. Alright, so I'm going to pause this, come in here, restore, and do the very same thing I did just a second ago. Tools, auto assemble, template, AOB injection, copy this, just say OK, go back here, change this to assert, replace that with what we copied, get rid of that, just copy all this actually, get rid of that, paste that, db9090, alright, because all that we needed to get rid of are the 2 bytes that have to do with this jump. So these 2 bytes, alright, so we knopped those and get rid of this. Alright, so we have our little snapshot if we need to do some AOB scans manually if something changes in the game and this stops working. So let's file, assign to current cheat table, close that, close this, close that. Let's call this infinite jumps. Let's enable no collision. Let's enable infinite jumps. On pause, Jump around. Okay, no collision. Let's fall down and see what happens. I'm able to jump my way all the way back up. Alright, so that kind of counteracts that whole like falling and, you know, it taking forever for you to die. Now you can just jump your way back out. But anyway, so now we are good to go. Nothing can collide with us. We can just do whatever we want and jump to our heart's content. So anyway, alright, that's pretty much it. I hope that you found this video useful. Go check out my Cuphead videos as well if you liked this, because, you know, similar challenging platformer type game where I cover similar things and much more. So yeah, give me a thumbs up if you enjoyed the video. Please share it with others if you think they would like it. Don't forget to subscribe if you're not subscribed yet. And I'll just talk to you all in the next video. Take care.